Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Cuyahoga County Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee meeting this Tuesday, April 16th. Sun shining in downtown Cleveland. Roll call, please.
And just as a reminder to all who are in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Ms. Conwell. Ms. Conwell is absent. Mr. Byrne.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. There is a quorum.
Public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Gentlemen, in your package, you have the meeting minutes of March 5th. If they're in order, I'll accept the motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you very much. We're going to take first up, Ms. Carney is going to give us a presentation on public safety and justice affairs, and it should be quite interesting.
Oh, quite interesting. Thank you. Brandy Carney, Director of Public Safety and Justice for Cuyahoga County. It's been a minute since I've been up here. So I just have a few slides to cover the Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. These are not all of our agencies, which I'll speak to in a moment here, but just a couple of updates for the brief time that we talked about. Do I forward this? Okay, so I usually start with this slide, just a brief overview of organizational chart of my department. Before I even speak about this, I just want to mention something maybe for some of the newer council members, welcome, that haven't been with the county. So within the county overall, the safety and justice cluster, it includes the sheriff's office, which he's obviously responsible for the sheriff and the jail and law enforcement. It includes our clerk of courts, who's responsible for her staff. It includes the medical examiner and his staff. And then my department, Department of Public Safety and Justice, includes multiple agencies. It's kind of been a catch-all for multiple agencies, and those are listed at the bottom of your screen there. So we have within the department, we have emergency management in our EOC, Emergency Operations Center for the county. We have our 911 center, also called CCOMS, and staff for 911. We have our Witness Victim Service Center, as well as the Family Justice Center. And we also have a grants and fiscal support. They actually do fiscal support both internally for agencies as well as externally countywide for all of our communities in public safety. And then myself and the Deputy Director, Jill Smilak, work on some of the other initiatives, which include the opioid settlement fund projects, such as the Countywide Diversion Center and some of the other initiatives, and I did list just a few there. And then finally, I do have on the CJIS unit, which works in the sheriff's office, but it used to be under Department of Public Safety. And so often myself and staff tasks from the sheriff's office work collectively on some of those initiatives, which include things like the license plate readers countywide, the mobile trailers. They fall within that agency. And then finally, last, we have the Fusion Center, which covers a 5-county region, including Cuyahoga. That agency is staffed by both county and city of Cleveland staff, and the county staff come from Public Safety and Justice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was going to say next slide, but it's me that needs to. So just briefly wanted to mention our successful EOC activation for the Eclipse. We worked in county emergency management approximately a year and a half in planning and coordination for the Eclipse, working with agencies, making sure those agencies understand, have situational awareness on the other agencies around them. It was a successful activation, no issues, but just shows how many partners we have both in the EOC that day, the day of, as well as externally. And just another thank you to the great work for our emergency management staff and how well they're regarded throughout the state, really, for emergency management. And then next is we get to 911, which quite honestly, I could spend a day here, but I won't. And first I wanted to mention that we just completed a county wide update of our call handling. So our 911, the software system that we use, as well as every other dispatch center in the county uses, we just completed an update, took approximately 3 years, every piece of complete through all the planning. Every piece of equipment was updated in every dispatch center throughout the county, as well as ours, as well as our 2 data centers, one in Cleveland, one in Columbus. So massive update. We also transitioned to a new system that's been working very well, well-known system, enterprise system that Motorola has. And so that was a large initiative that we just completed. And we are currently working on and just completed an RFP, although it hasn't been issued yet, for the system when our current contract is done, which will be approximately 2025. And the system after that will be a next-gen 911 system, which I'm sure many of you have heard about. It's an IP-based system. The state is also working through their own transition process at this time. So we're working to align with when they're ready for us to connect to their system, that will be coordinated at that point. It's likely to have a short time where we'll need a contract extension while we're waiting for the state before we move to our new system, but I'll provide updates as we move forward to council. I did just want to mention last summer there were, for the first time in so many years, very large updates to Chapter 128 of Ohio Revised Code, which covers 911. Lots of changes we've been working through. One of those changes impacts every community, requires all of them to provide a resolution approving our 911 plan. And so those are some of the projects we're working on now and working with communities. We did have the law department and law director look at the legislation because of the impact to make sure that we're following it appropriately. And then finally, some updates for moving forward to 911. Mr. Gallagher, as you recall, in 2013, we released the 911 consolidation plan. That was a 10-year plan. So after 10 years, we went from 50 dispatch centers, so 48 primary and 2 secondary, and we're down to 20 primary and 1 secondary. So we cut the numbers in half, and we're continuing to see consolidations throughout the county. We're also working through, we just identified a pilot city of one of the Chagrin Valley dispatch locations, which we're piloting them right now, and they will be answering their own 911 calls in the near future. And then from that pilot, we'll identify the requirements so that other dispatch centers who are able to would be able to request their own calls through that process.
Can I ask a question? Through the chair?
Absolutely. Ms. Simon is in attendance.
Hi. So the pilot is going to be that the dispatchers themselves will be responding to 911 versus, or what is
Sure.
exactly
So
going to
the
change?
location, one of Chagrin Valley's location, not
Cleveland
all of them, but
Heights.
one, will, right now, when you call 911 from a cell phone in the county, as you know, CCOMs, the county always answers those calls.
Right.
But now that we've transitioned away from 48 different dispatch centers, the climate's changed and the landscape. So they will be able to answer their own calls for 911, so CCOMs will not answer those calls. They'll go directly to that dispatch center.
What's the time frame for the Cleveland Heights location? What's the length and duration of the pilot?
Sure. So we just, through the councilwoman, we just completed the approval process through our 911, the former planning committee. Now it's the program review committee. I expect it to take anywhere from 3 to 6 months because we have to wait for the providers, so the telcos, which are Verizon, AT&T, to update circuits and change tower locations on where they point. And so we expect this process to take about 3 to 6 months. From this process, we'll identify the actual program moving forward so that other agencies, if they meet minimum requirements throughout the county, would be able to request their calls also.
Are we going to compensate them for the additional work?
We haven't gotten to that point yet with funding. That's a very large question right now. There was a significant increase in 911 state funding that was expected to occur annually, and the amount of the increase hasn't measured up. It's been less than what people expected. And there were also some other changes, such as the state keeping more money than they had previously. So while there is a slightly more funding moving forward, and there has been, it's not as much as expected. So we still need to figure out how that distribution, if it happens, how it happens. If you remember, we still pay for the 911 system, and so that's what our funding goes towards.
Okay, thanks.
And I do have one more slide. I know that. I wanted to acknowledge, so important, amazing. People often forget first responders. April 14th through the 20th is Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, so Dispatchers Week. And then my last slide is that we have Witness Victim Service Center, again, kind of the justice side that we have. So amazing and important. We have our Camp Hope, something we're so proud of. We're in our 6th year. It's a week-long residential camp for children exposed to trauma, significant trauma and violence. We're the only one in the tri-state region, and when we started this, I think we were the only one on the East Coast, if I remember correctly, that had this program. We have a week-long that we take the kids, they stay overnight, and there's programming, and we work with them. In addition, we've built in a First Responders Day. It allows an open dialogue between a lot of these kids that have had a lot of challenges, and even challenges with first responders. And so we really work to grow that relationship between them. We bring out vehicles, they can ask questions, and it's really been just a great project, so that we're very proud of. And Witness Victim has done a phenomenal job, and Jill Smilek leading those initiatives. And finally, this is just to put on the radar for council. I think it's so important, the VOCA cuts. So this is something over the last 5 years. They've continued to be cut, and I think over the last 5 years, it's been about 60% cut. We just found out, and we had been waiting for it, that, and we found out within the last week, I think, that the state is receiving for next year an additional 40% cut expected. So there's a lot of social service agencies throughout the county that rely on this funding, internally and externally. And so just to put it on your radar, the concerns and damages that's likely to cause for funding. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Questions?
I have none.
Ma'am? Brandy, on the Emergency Operations Center, as you well know, one of my pet peeves amongst many, we were, for the edification of the new members of the council, we were all set to build an emergency operations standalone out in Broadview Heights. Actually broke ground in the previous administration, in their infinite wisdom and political awareness, pulled it. Are we ever going to revisit that? Because what we call an EOC is not an EOC. It's a room. We need a standalone facility. Are we ever going to revisit that? And back then, it was $25 million. I can only assume it's probably approaching 50.
23, but yes. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for asking me. I love talking about this project. It's such a need in Cuyahoga County, as you said and know. It is something that with the new administration, we've talked about. It was one of the first things I discussed with the new county executives, and especially more recently, I would say over the last few months, there's been more and more discussion on this project. Obviously, it's a very expensive endeavor, but if you recall, it included not only a county EOC, which is a large need. The one we have functions now, but there's so many needs that we don't have that you're supposed to have in an EOC, like breakout rooms, for example, a separate joint information center for the communications folks to work together. So we make it work, but it's not ideal. What I would love to see in Cuyahoga County would be a public safety center that includes the EOC plus a room for my emergency management staff. Right now, they're not even directly beside each other, which is very challenging. Same with 911 staff in a very small dispatch floor to support the other operations in the county. And then we also had a large garage that was a piece of that, which is allowed county-wide all the public safety agencies to store their vehicles in the garage. We often purchase those vehicles and equipment with Homeland Security dollars, and then we don't have storage for them. So that project has just recently, discussion-wise only, has came out, which is really great. So, and I completely support what you said.
Right, and for our new members, the council actually, we went through the process the administration at the time, the Fitzgerald administration, and the council approved it all. And we were all set to go, and the rug kind of got pulled out. And I think we're the lesser for it. So I think cost obviously is everything, but regardless of the cost now, sins of the past, shouldn't prevent us from moving forward with what obviously is certainly needed in this county. Any
Completely
county,
agree.
really.
And our emergency management, they really are top notch for the state, so it'd be great to have, ours is unlike any of the other large cities and any other county, actually, excuse me, within the state, so.
Right.
Much smaller.
Any further questions?
Just a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure, thank you, Mr. Chair, that we need that large now of a space that was originally anticipated, since we're consolidating, piloting different projects to go into the communities. Maybe we don't need that large of a space anymore.
I shared, Councilwoman, excellent point. As I've talked with the eighth floor about this, I've always shared that project included a countywide dispatch center floor, and that's not something we need. So I would still encourage a small floor, because we still have our CCOM staff, and there's still support functions for the entire county. But I absolutely agree with you, that doesn't make sense. So there would be a large reduction because of that cost and how much it would have cost previously for that floor.
Thank
for
you.
dispatch floor.
Yeah, so I'm not, it's not my pet peeve that it didn't go into that space as it was anticipated. We've got some space maybe at the Hugh BOE location. You never know what's available. I'm just saying.
Oh, we got 91 million reasons
Exactly.
to do the right thing
That's
here.
correct.
Brandy, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Brandy.
Thanks,
Our
everyone.
Council President is in attendance. Janine, we'll go in order because the Council President's here.
Resolution number 2024-0104, awarding a total sum not to exceed $10,000 to the Cleveland Family Center of Missing Children and Adults for the Northeast Ohio Amber Alert Committee training event from the District 8 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Do we have someone here?
Good afternoon, everyone. Chief John Majoy from the Newburgh Heights Police Department. One of the many hats I wear is I serve as the chairman of the Northeast Ohio Amber Alert Committee, and also I'm the president of the board of directors for Cleveland Missing. Just a quick sidebar, as I'll put my police chief hat back on real quick, with respect to what Ms. Carney said, Cuyahoga County EMA did a phenomenal job with the preparation for the Eclipse event, kept all the departments aware. They had meetings. We felt very comfortable going into this, and it was thanks to EMA. So I just wanted to add that on top of what she said. They did a phenomenal job, so hats off to them. So back to this grant application. As the chairman of the Northeast Ohio Amber Alert Committee, we put on training every other year for law enforcement and criminal justice practitioners about Amber Alerts. Our committee is very unique in a sense. We're the only one like it in the state of Ohio, where we provide training for alerts, but we also do reviews of Amber Alerts. I've been the chairman of this committee for nearly 10 years. We've made tremendous strides. We only have one outstanding Amber Alert that's still active. Unfortunately, it was a missing teen from Cleveland from June of last year. But aside from that, we've had 34 other successful alerts, and many thanks to CCOMS for the hard work that they do. With respect to Cleveland Missing, this was an organization that's a nonprofit. It was co-founded by Gina DeJesus, who's one of the survivors of the Cleveland kidnappings, and her cousin Sylvia Colon. And the mission of Cleveland Missing as a nonprofit is to help families who have missing loved ones, whether that's an Amber Alert, whether it's an endangered alert, whether it's a runaway, or just somebody who's missing. We do not reach out to families and seek them, they seek us out. And our mission is to basically provide a safe landing place, provide resources for missing loved ones, because who knows better than Gina and her family, because she was missing for nearly 10 years of her life, and some of the challenges that her family went through. And her goal is just to make sure that no family has to go through what their family had to go through. So we've helped dozens and dozens of families since our inception in late 2018, and we've grown exponentially, which is good. It would be better if we didn't have any missing persons, of course. However, with our partnership with the Northeast Ohio Amber Alert Committee, what we're seeking funding for is to put on yet another conference. And the conferences have grown. When I first became chairman, we had about 25 people come to the first conference. We've had several since then, and our crowd has grown to over 350 attendees, to the point where we've outgrown the venue that was given to us for free. So Cleveland Missing has formed a partnership with the Holiday Inn Conference Center in Independence to host the Amber Alert Conference. There's, of course, a cost that goes with that. And so our partnership has gotten us a landing place for the conference. Now we want to bring in speakers. And so just within the last couple of weeks, things have started to crystallize where we believe that we're going to be able to, permitting this grant, of course, bring in Elizabeth Smart. And as a reminder, Elizabeth Smart's case was she was kidnapped in California, or Utah rather, and she was missing for 9 months, and she was later found. And she's a very dynamic speaker. And the goal of this conference is to raise awareness to missing persons cases, but also to Amber Alerts as well, because Amber Alerts turn into missing person cases. We're going to put a component of victimization in there. You saw what Ms. Carney presented about the victimization component. I do feel that Cuyahoga County's victim assistance is phenomenal. Having been in law enforcement for almost 35 years, it's one of the best I've ever dealt with. And so we want to bring that component into the conference. And so we're very confident that we will have a capacity crowd. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We're very confident that it's not going to be exclusive to just one discipline. We're going to be talking criminal justice practitioners, whether it's dispatchers, police officers, supervisors, chiefs, probation, parole, victims assistance people. Anybody would be invited to this conference. One of the keys is with the conference is it's free. We don't charge agencies because agencies' budgets are very tight when it comes to their budgets. And whenever there's budget cuts, unfortunately, one of the first things we see is training gets nixed or it gets minimized. And so we think with the help of the county, and we're going to sell some sponsorships, that we can put on an amazing event to bring in a dynamic speaker. We also have on board Chris Hansen, who formerly did the Dateline NBC series. He's agreed to come and speak as well. And again, we're going to put a little spin on human trafficking awareness on top of the missing persons. So I think that we're on board for an amazing, amazing conference that will continue to put us on the grid as a committee. We've done exceptionally well to that regard. Thank you. I'll take any questions if you have them.
Easy to me, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was hoping you would say. But just as a sidebar, I just wanted to share something, if I can approach you folks. One of the projects that Cleveland Missing has done, and this has gained attention across the country, and that is that we have a grant that we received to produce playing cards. And of the playing cards, it features a missing person on it. And I'd like to share at least a photo of one of these with each one of you. Of the 1,000 decks, we have distributed these throughout the state to correctional facilities and prisons. The state of Ohio, in their 27 facilities, we sent them about 650 decks of these cards. And the hope is that we give them to the inmates and let the inmates play cards. It doesn't cost them anything. And our hope is that maybe they'll see a missing persons case and recognize the case or talk about it. And if it solves one missing persons case, it was worth it exponentially. And so this is just one of the many things that Cleveland Missing has done. It's been very well received. I just spoke to Mr. Carbone at the start of the meeting. I have several boxes of these I'd like to get to the Cuyahoga County Jail to give to their inmates to play cards. And again, maybe somebody will say something, and the public is our biggest resource, and sometimes that includes inmates. And so I'd just like to share this photo with you so you can see that. So again, one of the many fine things that Cleveland Missing does, but again, the whole idea is to bring awareness to missing persons cases. What better partnership than with the Amber Alert Committee that we've had, and things are working out really well. We want to put on an amazing conference for public safety.
Thank you, Chief. Everybody's comfortable with Resolution 2024-0104. Accept the motion to the full council under second reading.
So moved.
Second, and if I could have a few words.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
sure, discussion.
Don't have a question, but Chief, it's good to see you.
Likewise.
And we had just worked with Newburgh Heights and just did some amazing work there through ARPA as well. And then when I saw your request come in, and then to read about the Amber Alert in this conference, I'm excited for you and for it. I think everyone's heart goes out when you think about what happened to Gina DeJesus and those with the Anthony Sowell, those victims, so many. And we all know Amber Alert across the community when we see this. So the opportunity to be a partner with you in this is, we're happy to do it. I'm happy to be a part of it, and much success on your conference.
Very good, and we appreciate the support exponentially. Thank you very much.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you, Chief.
No, thank you, ladies, thank you.
2024-0135.
Resolution number 2024-0135, awarding a total sum not to exceed $27,000 to the City of Euclid for the Euclid Hope Task Force from the District 10 and 11 ARPA Community Grant Funds.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my name's Pam Turos. I am a member of the Euclid Board of Education, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Euclid Hope Task Force. And I am here on behalf of Mayor Gale. She is actually out of town this week, and she asked one of us to attend on her behalf. I'm happy to answer questions about the process. I can give you a few minutes of kind of the history of what we've been doing. Starting in December of 2022, we had two back-to-back shootings that involved Euclid students. And one of them took place in Collinwood, and one of them took place in Euclid. And myself and several residents came to City Council and said that we needed to work together, the city and the schools, the whole city, in order to reduce violence in our community. And we've been meeting as a task force with city leaders and stakeholders and community organizers for the past year. Our first official meeting was February of 2023, and we had another meeting just yesterday. And the plan that has evolved over that time is that we will work with Case Western Reserve University for community listening sessions to, we've been educating ourselves over the last year as to what has reduced violence effectively in other communities, so that we know when we move forward, we will be able to invest in programs and solutions that are proven to work in other communities. And part of that process is finding out the perceptions of violence in our community, the experiences of violence in our community, and a vision for a safer community, all based on residents who typically are not in the room when decisions are being made, those who a lot of organizations are challenged to reach and connect with. And so this department at Case Western Reserve, the Center for Community Innovations, specializes in building bridges between community institutions and the people who are affected by those institutions, and will be launching a 6-month community listening session process that will be backed by trained facilitators in community engagement with disenfranchised communities. And then also moving on to, we'll have 3 citywide listening sessions led by those facilitators in the Case School of Social Work. And then we will collect all of the information from those listening sessions and come back and report back to the community. And then in a 3rd session, we will vision what investments we need to make in all of our stakeholder institutions working collaboratively toward a citywide safer community plan. And that will be the outcome of this project. And then we will also continue to work with CASE to bring that plan to fruition and hold ourselves accountable that it's done properly. 1/3 of it has already been approved to be funded by the library, Euclid Public Library, and 1/3 has already been approved to be funded by the Euclid Public School System. So this $27,000 that we've requested county support for represents the city's portion, because we do expect that there will be additional expenses for the programming and services and resources that come out of this planning process. We are ready to get started. Actually, we met with CASE yesterday in our HOPE Task Force meeting, and we are really in the implementation phase. And I appreciate county support in helping us reach this milestone after a year of effort.
Oh, thank you so much. I ask for my colleagues' support. The work that's been done with this group is very helpful, and I think we're going to see some measurable changes and outcomes as a result of this. And ask for your support. Colleague Stevens and I both really want to support this project because we represent Collinwood and Euclid, and it's the edge of our county from my perspective that, we've got to keep and maintain that strong county line strong so people don't start to leave and go east to Mentor and Willoughby. We want to keep people here. We've invested so much in Euclid's lakefront, and this is a piece of that. I think we've got to continue to invest and make sure that all of the county suburbs are safe and secure and open to people moving in and back to the county. So I appreciate this component. Pam's work and Emily Holliday have done a lot, so thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay, if everybody's comfortable with Resolution 2024-0135, I'll accept a motion to the full council for second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Anything further? All in favor? Aye. Against? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Sunny, and also thank you to Cheryl Stevens for helping us get this far. I'm really very grateful for your support.
Is there any miscellaneous business? Ms. Roach, do you have anything further? Nothing? Mr. Carbone? Nothing further? Anyone else? Thank you.